Hello everyone. So this is unit 5, chapter 5, prevention of violence against women. Prevention means to prevent, as I told you one thing along with this term prevention. I hope you guys remember that. Violence means the physical act or assault, the beating, okay, which is done, the abuse on women. Against women means on the women it is done and we have to protect the women from that. डोमेस्टिक अब्यूज और वायलेंस डोमेस्टिक मीन्स समथिंग विच इज़ डन इन द हाउस उसी को तो हम डोमेस्टिक कहते हैं सो डोमेस्टिक अब्यूज और डोमेस्टिक वायलेंस मीन्स द बिहेवियर और द वायलेंस और द अटैक्स और द अब्यूसमेंट which is done on the women of the family by the other members of the family. Okay, so it is defined as a pattern of behavior in any domestic relationship that is used to gain or maintain power and control over another. So, a basic definition is given without the use of any gender, that a pattern of behavior. Why pattern? Because it keeps on repeating. It is not a single act, but it keeps on repeating. And again, you do the same act, you do the same violence, because when for the first time it was done, the victim of that attack has not complained against you, or he or she has not taken any action against that violence. Had it been done, शायद उस इंसान की जो परपिट्रेटर है उसकी हिम्मत ना होती दूसरी बार वो एक्ट रिपीट करने की. बट इट इज़ अ पैटर्न. It goes on because you have to maintain or gain power. You have to gain power, and if you have already gained it, then you repeat it to maintain that power which was already gained, or the control over another person. So what it projects, that if I am beating you, that means I am a stronger capable person who has the capacity or who has that physical build up to thrash you, and you are the victim means you are the weaker one, because then only you are not retaliating or you are not using any force against me in response of my thrashing you, right? So that is the strong or weak sort of taboo or the projections which come out of such pattern. And it is domestic, that means it is arising out of a domestic relationship that is inside house. Okay, abuse means physical, sexual, emotional, economic, psychological action or threat of action. So it can be that the actions have been already performed, or there is a threat or the caution or warning that if you have not done this by this time, I will beat you. So that is a threat. If you not make or cook this which I want or I wish to eat today, I will kill you. I will kill you till death. So what are these? These are threats of assault or threats of abuse that may be done upon another person, so that he may get influenced, or he may, in a fear of such attack, will do as you aspire for. And that is what gaining control over. कि मैं अपने हिसाब से उसको चला रहा हूँ या चला रही हूँ. That is only controlling the other person. No, he is not able to do as he wishes, but he is under my control. He is doing as what I say. Right? So the behavior that can frighten, डरा सकता है, intimidate, that means उसको caution कर सकता है, terrorize, again fear. Terrorize is something you can say a graver or more serious fear, more seriousness of a person who is threatened or afraid from you. Manipulate means to influence, अपनी बातों में घुमाना, ठीक है, that is manipulation. Hurt, of course, attacking and causing some injury to the person. Wound, injure, that is the same. Blame and humiliate matlab to insult. Blame is again blame game. You know what is blame game. Domestic abuse can happen to anyone of any race, age, sexual orientation, religion, or gender. So it can happen to anybody, and all these grounds do not help in that case. It can occur within a range of relationships, including couples who are married, living together, or dating. That means it can be a married couple, it can be a couple who are living in a live-in relationship, right? That means they are not married, or they are just, that dating period. Domestic violence affects people of all socio-economic background and education level. So these, see, attacking somebody or injuring somebody, frightening or terrorizing, these are all somewhat in the category of crimes. And one thing you have to remember, crime is always against the whole society. That means you do not only do the crime against the person who is the actual victim of the act, but the all the other people of the society, they also get affected by it. Because what happens is कि if the number of cases of rape or murder are increasing, then it also creates a sort of uh, that mindset, and एक जो डर का या चिंता का माहौल बन जाता है सोसाइटी में, that what we are heading towards as a society, we say no. So that is against the whole society. So it is something which will also affect the people of all the social economic background, no matter they are rich poor. क्यों? Because as I said, it can happen with anyone. So maybe the person or the family appears to be very rich or holds a greater strata or greater status in the society, but what happens inside the four walls of the house or room is that the husband is beating the wife, or it's the other way around, whatever is the case. So, or if it is a poor household in a remote area or in a village in which such attacks are happening, so it can be anyone, which can affect the other people also. It creates a sort of that taboo and mindset that I will not marry such person, because क्या होता है, rich people ना अपना ज़्यादा power exert करना चाहते हैं. What those rich people or those powerful people have there in mind, that from money I can buy anything and everything, so I can control anybody, and in lieu of controlling that person, you can raise your hands upon him or her, or verbally you are saying such things that in front of all the other members of the family you have humiliated that person, and the other person who has got humiliated, now he is in constant fear कि अगर मैंने ये काम अगली बार किया तो मुझे वो फिर इस तरह से सबके सामने बेइज्जती करेगा. And nobody likes all those blame games and humiliation in front of other people. What we say, defend in public and teach in private. बोलते हैं, सुना होगा ऐसे quotes लिखे हुए for couple things. चलो, सॉरी फॉर टॉकिंग यू अबाउट सच थिंग्स, बट इट इज़ वेरी बेसिक दैट आप पब्लिक में तमाशे ना बनाओ अपना रिलेशनशिप का, राइट? सो दिस इज़ वॉट a fear that may develop in the mind of person कि if I repeat this act, or I don't have to give another chance of him humiliating me in front of the public or in front of the other family members, he's making fun of me, so that he shows to his family that वो मेरे कंट्रोल में नहीं है, बल्कि वो मुझे कंट्रोल कर रहा है. ये सुपरियोरिटी दिखाने के लिए रिलेशनशिप में जनरली आदमी और हस्बैंड्स ये करते हैं कि पूरी फैमिली के सामने वाइफ को इंसल्ट करते हैं, उसका मजाक बनाते हैं, उसकी फैमिली का मजाक बनाते हैं, सिर्फ ये दिखाने के लिए दैट द हस्बैंड इज इन अ पोजिशन हु इज कंट्रोलिंग द वाइफ एंड नॉट द अदर वे राउंड. सो दैट इज ऑल्सो अ फॉर्म ऑफ abuse, and it is on emotional and psychological level more than on the physical level. And it's not that only the physical abuse hurts, but what in my opinion is that emotional abuse hurts more than the physical abuse. Because what happens in physical abuse, थोड़ी देर के लिए वो दर्द होगा, but जो emotionally abuse किया गया है, that can remain in the heart of the person forever or for a longer duration, right? जो फिजिकल अटैक से जो भी वोन्स या इंजरी हुई है, दैट यू कैन गो इन अ गुड हॉस्पिटल और अंडर अ गुड मेडिकल प्रैक्टिशनर एंड दे कैन हील विद द टाइम. बट व्हाट अबाउट द इमोशनल वंस, साइकोलॉजिकल वुंड्स, व्हाट अबाउट देम, राइट? सो it can affect people of all kinds, and it can happen with anybody against anybody, and no matter how educated the person is. Even today, domestic violence and all such acts are happening, even though there is also a legal awareness and mass publicity of the fact that there are such prevented legislations on point, and if a woman complains of such attacks against her, the concerned person will get arrested and prosecuted for the same. But again, women don't complain and come out in public to say that such attacks have happened, because what is then, उन पर एक टैबू लग जाएगा that she was not able to save the relationship or sustain her marriage. or she was, there are such uh, taboos or such images set for the women कि वो adjust नहीं कर पाई, थोड़ा सा मारा था सह लेती, ऐसे बोलते हैं लोग. थोड़ा भी टॉलरेंस लेवल नहीं बचा है आजकल की लड़कियों में. दैट्स ऑल व्हाट इज सेड, right? In spite of knowing that all these laws are there. So because of such taunts and such taboos and such mindset of the society which is prevalent even today, women don't come out in public and complain about such attacks. And if you don't complain, nobody will get that in their dreams that you are being attacked or abused, right? So it can affect anybody, and it is a crime, it is against the society, so the whole society is also affected by it. Domestic violence is largely forbidden in the Western countries, means it is something which is prohibited. However, in many countries, it is legally recognized or socially acceptable. So you see the situation, two sides of the same coin. In some, it is prohibited, forbidden, or contrary to the law, and in some, it is recognized by the society. That हाँ ये होता है, क्योंकि हस्बैंड को कंट्रोल करना ज़रूरी है, अदरवाइज द हाउस होल्ड्स विल नॉट रन इन अ प्रॉपर मैनर. दिस इज द assumption or the mindset of the people. For example, UAE allow the man the use of limited physical means to discipline wife and children. As I told you, domestic violence is a socially acceptable practice, including by women themselves in many developing countries. So the women also recognize or accept that yes, it should be done on us, so that we are in a disciplined manner and we work properly. Otherwise what will happen, we will go out of our roots, out of our limits, and do such things which should not be done by the women. हम लोग ऐसे काम कर जाएंगे, तो ज़रूरी है कि हम पर मारपीट हो. So that is the notion. And why this notion? Because they are being taught like this from generations to generations, and there is nobody to revolt against it, that no, this is wrong. कोई बोल ही नहीं रहा है, क्योंकि society from generations to generations has passed on this notion, and it has somewhat become a custom. They have themselves recognized this custom among their society. International legal framework. The concern for violence against women, including violence in intimate relationships, which can be such marital bond, okay, has significantly existed in international discourses and legal frameworks. So there is the concern for violence against women, violence which is done on women. So now it is a matter of concern in legal frameworks on the international level. Now, for which we have a convention called the Convention on Elimination of All Forms of Discrimination Against Women. Abbreviated form is CEDAW. United Nations Treaty. Now, treaty is a sort of contract, but again, it is a convention which is a weak international law, and it has no binding force. If people means the nation do not follow them or do not sign to it, they will not be sanctioned, or they will not be penalized for that. That defines what constitutes discrimination against women and sets up an agenda for national action to end such discrimination. That means, first of all, elimination of all forms of discrimination against women. So what are those all forms which you are talking about? That has to be given. So that is defining that what constitutes discrimination against women. Fine. So that all forms को हमने define किया. And then for what it is made, internationally it cannot control every nation, right? Every nation in itself is responsible for controlling the citizens living in that area. So national action means it promotes or it guides or it gives the guidelines for the nations that how you have to act, and set up framework for their particular regions or nations, that how such discrimination has to be removed or absolutely eradicated from their society. That is to end such discrimination which is done against the women. Fine. CEDAW is referred to as the International Bill of Rights for Women and has 99 countries including India as signatories, means who had signed it. कि हाँ, we agree to this and we are ready to be a part of it. And once a country is ready to be a part of any convention, that means whatever guidelines or provisions are mentioned in that convention, they have to implement them in their own nation. And that implementation can be by making a new law, or changing the existing law on that issue or topic. Okay. So, India is also a signatory of CEDAW, and it is referred to as the International Bill of Rights for Women. Means Bill of Rights means it contains all those rights which are essential to be given to the women, and since it is on an international level, so the name. Signatories have committed themselves to undertake various measures to end discrimination against women in all forms. Since CEDAW is to end discrimination against women of all forms, of all sorts, so the nations who are signing to it, that means they also agree to it. If I do not agree to a fact, I will not sign it, isn't it? So the nations who have signed, they of course agree, and they are they not only agree to the things which are written over there, but also agree that they will take up the necessary measures and in their own national jurisdiction areas and make some laws or implement them in their own nations. 1992 CEDAW committee recommended that any form of discrimination or violation of women's rights amount to violence, and the state is responsible for such violence committed by state or private individuals. State means the government of the nation. Okay, not state means like the government of India, not the government of UP or MP, which are the states of India. Fine. So state here means nation. It is another way of denoting to the nation or the national government. So CEDAW committee of 1992 recommended that any form of discrimination which is done against women, or the rights which are mentioned in that Bill of Rights, if any of those rights are violated, or women are not provided with, or their rights are not protected as they should have been, then that amounts to violence against the women. So what is violence against women? Any of their rights violated, the rights not being protected as they as they should have been, or the discrimination on any ground which is done against them. Fine. And for such violence which is committed, discrimination or non-protection of rights, the state government as well as the wrongdoer, जिसने वो actual में act किया, they both are responsible. Having said that, you may have seen in criminal cases, cases का नाम कैसे होता है? This person against state of UP, Union of India, state of MP. These are how the cases are. Why? Because again, the case of the victim is fought, or the state represents the victim. ठीक है? So that means again crime against the whole society. Fine. And the wrongdoer is one person, but the whole society is against that person who is fighting the case, not only the actual victim. The UN Declaration on Elimination of Violence Against Women, adopted in 1993, and defines violence against women. Violence against women, now there it was discrimination of all forms, तो उसको define किया था that what all is coming under that discrimination part. Over here it is violence against women, so that is defined, which is any gender-based violence acts that result in or are likely to result in physical, sexual, psychological harm or suffering to women. So violence against women mean any gender-based violence. It is against women, no? So that is against a particular gender. So we can say gender-based. That may result in, or it will, there is a probability that it will result in. Either you are actual that it results in the harm, or it has the capability, or it may lead to, it may result to the physical, sexual, psychological harm to the person. Here, women. Physical, you know, sexual means some forceful sexual act between the couple or by the husband. And psychological means again emotional, on her mind. The violence acts include threat of actions and coercion, arbitrary deprivation of liberty. So arbitrary means with force, without any reasonable cause. I am forcing you to this act. Reason? I don't know. I don't have any reason. I am just your husband and you have to do as I say. That is only the reason. No other valid cause. Okay? You have to go with my friend. What is the reason? No reason. I am your husband and you do as I say. That is your duty. So that is something which is arbitrary. Fine. And that can also deprive the women of her liberty because she is forced to do that act. Her consent is not asked. It is irrelevant for that matter. Fine. And coercion means, of course, force. That can be the actual acts or the threat of those acts. These acts may occur either in public or private, either in the whole society in front of members of the family, as I told you, as I gave you that example, or in the four corners of the room. ऑलवेज उनके कपल के बीच में कोई सीधी बात या कोई नॉर्मल बातें ही नहीं होती हैं. एवरी टाइम वट एवर द हस्बैंड स्पीक्स इज ऑलवेज मेकिंग फन ऑफ द वाइफ. दैट इज वॉट. कोई ढंग की बात कर लो, कोई काम की बात कर लो, बट नो, every time making fun, cracking jokes on her behavior, on her, the facial structure or whatever, calling her always कि तुम काली हो, कितनी काली हो, इतना काला कोई कैसे हो सकता है. All such acts, and these are not my hypothetical examples, but these are some Supreme Court judgments or the High Court's judgments which are landmark, that calling the wife always that कि you're kali, you are kali, complaining of a darker complexion is a kind of cruelty, right? So these acts are what? Psychological harm. It can affect the mental being of the women if it is done repeatedly without any action of remorse on part of husband, that he is not feeling he has done anything wrong, he is not apologizing for the same, rather he is doing it on a greater or the more serious level. वो बढ़ता जा रहा है, कम नहीं हो रहा, और उसको लग भी नहीं रहा उसने कुछ गलत किया है. ठीक है. Such violence might happen within the family and includes battering, that means use of force, the actual contact with the skin, actual beating, बोलना नहीं कि मैं तुम्हें मार दूंगा, but actually में मार देना. Mutilation, that means battering, sexual abuse of female children in the household. Sexual abuse of female children means you may have heard in the news channels or somewhere like कि चाचा ने छोटी लड़की अपनी भतीजी के साथ sexual assault किया. So that is sexual abuse of female children within the household. Dowry related violence. I wanted this much dowry. You had brought only this much dowry, which is very less as per my educational or qualification level. So now forcing the wife or her family or her parents to be precise that you give me more dowry. Otherwise क्या होगा? हमने आज उसको इतना मारा, वो डर के मारे फ़ोन करेगी. हमने उसको और मारा, उसके बाल जला दिए, उसका हाथ जला दिया, वो डर के मारे फ़ोन करेगी कि दो भाई, नहीं तो ये मेरी तो जान ले लेगा. और इसी डर से, इसी प्रेशर से, नाउ दिस इज व्हाट, क्रिएटिंग प्रेशर ऑन द वाइफ और हर फैमिली. कोवर्जन, अनड्यू इन्फ्लुएंस, बिकॉज यू आर इन दैट डोमिनेंट पोजिशन क्लियरली. क्यों? क्योंकि ब्राइड विमेन या उसकी फैमिली का क्या है कि उसका घर बचना चाहिए. अगर उसका घर टूट गया या वो अपना ससुराल छोड़कर मायके में रहने आ गई, तो सोसाइटी फिर क्या करेगी? टॉन्ट्स देना शुरू करेगी, टैबू आएगा, दैट वो अपना घर नहीं बसा पाई. शी वॉज नॉट capable enough or tolerant enough or silent enough to tolerate all those taunts and tortures and live inside that house or sustain her marriage. She was not able to save her marriage. उसका सारा blame उस औरत पर आएगा. इन सब से बचने के लिए वो क्या कहते हैं? अच्छा ये मार रहा है, चलो तुम मार सो, हम तुमको ये चीज़ दे रहे हैं, वट एवर he is demanding or his family is demanding, we are trying our best to fulfill that. Fine, so that is the dowry related violence, that we want more of it, so we are exerting pressure in the form of doing violence onto you. Marital rape means the rape of the wife, of course. Marital rape can be of the husbands as well, but as a general or more prevalent practice, it is of the wife. Here, marital rape, it is not recognized in India as a crime as of now at present, but in some other countries it is recognized as a crime, and it refers to forceful sexual intercourse with the wife without her consent. Husband की consent है, wife की नहीं है, but still it is going on forcefully. So that is marital rape. Rape inside violence. Rape inside the marital relationship. That's why it is marital attached over here. So anything which is without the consent, that is rape, right? So if it is done inside a marital relationship, it is marital rape. Fine. Female genital mutilation means you are beating her so much or such forceful sexual intercourse that her genitals have been mutilated. Mutilated का मतलब infirmity आ गई, shape change हो गई. Legs mutilation सुना है, legs mutilation सुना है, legs तोड़ दिए या आधा leg तोड़ दिया, foot तोड़ दिया, घुटने तक तोड़ दिया, that is legs mutilation. So similarly the other things. And other traditional practices harmful to women. Traditional practice can be sati, that is harmful to women. It is not prevalent, but what you are doing is it is going on traditional. तो हम चाहते हैं कि वो मर गया तो अब ये भी मर जाए, ताकि हमें इसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ना लेनी पड़े. एंड वो हो ना उसका शेयर लेने के लिए, बिकॉज इफ द हस्बैंड हैज़ डाइड तो वाइफ को वो शेयर मिलता प्रॉपर्टी का, बट जो हस्बैंड के और भाई थे वो नहीं चाहते कि ये वाइफ शेयर क्लेम करे, सो व्हाट दे आर मेकिंग हर डू इज किल हर बाय सती. Sexual harassment, sexual abuse, non-spousal violence means other than the spouse, there is some other person who is doing the violence on her. Violence related to exploitation, to exploit her. That can be also a part of dowry related, that I'm exploiting you or I'm using you against or as a measure, as a means to fulfill what I want. To fulfill my desire, I'm exploiting or using you. They may also occur outside the family in the general community, and such violence include rape, sexual abuse, sexual harassment, intimidation at work, educational institutions, trafficking, and forced prostitution. Why these all terms are used outside the family? Because they are generally without the consent and by a stranger. Okay? So it can be at workplace, for which we have POSH Act also, POSH, एंड एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस और एनी इंस्टीट्यूशन ऑफिस या जो भी हो वहाँ पर हो सकता है अगेंस्ट द women, and she may be forced to enter into the prostitution. Rest we will be covering in the next video. Thank you so much.